The first story today is one that makes you wonder what's really going on in the operating room. It's from a thread asking, what's the funniest secret someone has revealed under anesthesia? And this one is pure gold. It's a reminder that sometimes the truth is stranger than fiction, and sometimes the truth is just a hallucination. This person's boyfriend was getting an endoscopy, which is a pretty routine procedure. They put you under a light sedation, you wake up a little groggy, and that's it. But for this guy, it was a little different. As he was coming out of the sedation, he started whispering, "I need to tell you something urgent." Now, the nurse, she's seen it all. She just smiled and said, "They get pretty emotional after sedation, nothing to worry about." But as soon as she left, things got really weird. He grabbed his girlfriend's hand, his eyes wide, and he looked around the room like he was surrounded by enemies. "I have to confess," he whispered, his voice full of gravity. "I'm actually an undercover spy." He said that dating her had compromised his entire operation. She was trying not to laugh as he kept glancing at the door, convinced someone was listening in. Then the doctor came in with the discharge papers. Now, a normal person sees a doctor. A sedated secret agent sees his handler. The boyfriend's eyes went wide. He started frantically tapping his nose and making bizarre hand gestures. "That's my handler," he whispered, way too loudly. "He's using a medical cover. Very clever." The doctor just raised an eyebrow and continued to review the instructions while the boyfriend kept winking and responding with strange code phrases. But the story doesn't end there. On the drive home, the boyfriend suddenly gasped and pointed at a pet store. "Emergency extraction protocol. Pull over now." Before she could stop him, he stumbled inside and came out with a goldfish in a plastic bag. "This is Agent Bubbles," he announced, completely solemn. "My replacement. He'll complete my mission." 6 months later, Agent Bubbles is still swimming in their living room. The boyfriend claims to remember nothing about it, but he still refuses to make eye contact with his gastroenterologist. Honestly, it's a great cover story. Okay, from the hilarious to the heartbreaking. This next story comes from a thread asking, "What secret did your family use to destroy you?" This is a tale of betrayal so deep, it makes you question the meaning of family itself. This person, let's call him Ben, and his cousin Alex were like brothers. They grew up together, shared their first car, and were inseparable. Ben trusted Alex completely. Then their grandma passed away, and that's when everything changed. After the funeral, Alex started whispering things to the family, painting Ben as the troubled one. He would say things like, "Remember when he disappeared for months?" Conveniently leaving out the fact that Ben had been in rehab, fighting to get clean, a secret Alex had promised to keep. The family, trusting Alex, bought the stories, and when the will was read, Ben got nothing. Alex walked away with everything, the house, the savings, even the antique collection their grandma had promised Ben. Ben confronted Alex outside the lawyer's office. Alex looked him dead in the eye, smiled and said, "It's just business, cousin. You'll understand someday." Ben was crushed. He struggled for years, while Alex flaunted his success, posting pictures from vacation homes and living a life that should have been partly Ben's. But karma, as they say, is a patient hunter. The market crashed, Alex's businesses failed, and his lavish lifestyle came crumbling down. And that's when Ben got the message. "Hey, I know it's been years, but family is family, right? I need a loan." Ben played along, watching his cousin beg, letting him think help was coming. The final message from Alex was, "You're really going to do this?" Ben just smiled, remembering Alex's words from years ago. "It's just business, cousin. You'll understand." A chilling, but in a way satisfying end to a long, painful chapter. This next story is a testament to the fact that some promises, when broken, can leave a scar that never fully heals. It's from a thread asking, "What's the moment that made you hate someone you once loved?" This is about a father's promise to his son and the devastating betrayal that followed. This woman, let's call her Charlie's mom, divorced her husband in 2010. Their son, Charlie, was 11, and the split crushed him. His dad moved 3 states away for a fresh start with some woman from his gym. Then came the Disneyland promise. Charlie was on the couch, on speakerphone with his dad when his father said, "Hey buddy, for your 12th birthday, it's going to be just you and me at Disneyland. How's that sound?" Charlie's entire world lit up. He immediately got a Mickey Mouse calendar using his allowance to buy a red marker. Every night he would cross off a day counting down. He even started a Disneyland fun jar with quarters from his chores. He asked his mom, "Do you think Dad will let me buy him one of those Mickey hats with his name on it?" On his birthday, he was up at 5 a.m. He'd packed his little blue suitcase a week before, and his mom had even found him sleeping next to it twice. By 7 a.m., he was sitting by the window in his goofy shirt, waiting. "Dad said early, Mom," he said. Hours passed, then dinner time. "Maybe he got lost," Charlie said, his hope fading. "Mom, his phone probably died. That happens, right?" His mom called, straight to voicemail. A month later, her sister sent a Facebook screenshot. There was her ex, smiling at Cinderella's castle with his new wife and her kids. Charlie found out at school when some kid showed him the post. He came home, walked straight to his room, and took down that Mickey Mouse calendar. He never mentioned Disneyland again. A promise broken, a heart shattered, and a father-son bond severed forever. Okay, let's pivot back to revenge. But this time, it's a sweet, delicious, and meticulously planned dish best served cold. This story is from a thread asking, "What's your I played the long game revenge story?" This person had a friend in their weekly dinner group who was a notorious freeloading opportunist. He'd always push for an equal split on the bill. He'd casually order the $80 Wagyu steak while everyone else got $16 burgers. He'd pile on fancy cocktails, always top shelf, always multiple rounds. Meanwhile, this person would be sitting there nursing a single beer, watching their bill balloon to an insane amount. When the check came, the freeloading friend would grab it and say, "Let's keep it simple, guys. Just divide by 5. He said it so confidently, like he was doing them all a favor. The person would end up paying $95 for a $22 meal, but they never said a word. Instead, they got a small black notebook from the dollar store. Every single dinner for 6 months, they would jot down what the freeloading friend ordered versus what everyone else got, the price differences, the extra rounds of drinks, the group appetizers that only he ate. Page after page filled up with numbers that made their blood boil. Then came that Saturday night at their usual spot. The freeloading friend was in rare form, ordering the chef's special premium sides and 3 different cocktails. As the bill arrived, he started his usual speech about keeping things fair. That's when the person did it. Without saying a word, they pulled out that small black notebook and set it right in front of him. They'd never seen someone's expression change so fast. He stared at that notebook like it was a live snake. The next week, before anyone even ordered, he quietly asked for separate checks. The long game paid off. This next story is a classic example of malicious compliance and a perfect case study in how a bad manager can cost a company millions. It's from a thread asking, "What's the most expensive mistake your boss ever forced you to make?" The narrator of this story was a forklift operator in a warehouse. Their manager, a micromanaging control freak, complained that the forklift operators were inefficient with their routes. This was because they were just trying to avoid empty shelves and blocked areas. So, he implemented a new system: follow specific pre-mapped routes with no deviations, or face disciplinary action. One Tuesday morning, their biggest client placed a rush order that needed to ship within 2 hours, or they'd cancel their $5 million annual contract. The CEO himself called down to emphasize how critical this was. The narrator headed to the storage area only to discover a broken water pipe had flooded the official route. They called the manager. "Sir, there's a water leak blocking the route to Section H. Can I take the back way around?" the manager's response was firm. Absolutely not. Follow the approved routes only. That's why we have them. The narrator tried to explain that they'd missed the deadline, but the manager shot back, "Are you questioning company policy? Just follow the procedure." So, that's exactly what the narrator did. They followed the long route, waited for maintenance to clear the path, and documented every single delay, as required by the new policy. They missed the deadline by 18 minutes. The client canceled their contract that afternoon. The very next day, the manager called an emergency meeting about operational flexibility after the CEO discovered that his rigid routing system had cost the company its biggest account. Sometimes following the rules to the letter is the best revenge. This next story is a masterclass in courtroom drama and the ultimate tables-turned moment. It's from a thread asking, "What's the most satisfying tables-turned moment you've witnessed in court?" The narrator was working at a courthouse when they saw a mechanic get sued for destroying a customer's Ferrari. The plaintiff was a wealthy businessman who claimed the mechanic had intentionally ruined his $300,000 car after a payment dispute. The evidence seemed overwhelming. Security footage showed the mechanic working on the car for almost an hour. Witnesses testified they saw him handling engine components. The businessman drove off and the engine broke down completely. Repairs would cost $80,000. The businessman presented oil analysis showing contamination and tire pressure logs showing tampering. Throughout the prosecution's case, the mechanic sat calmly, occasionally whispering to his lawyer, who did nothing. When it was the mechanic's turn, his lawyer asked just one question. "Did you ever touch the car that day?" The mechanic's response was a simple, "No, sir." He then revealed his brilliant plan. "I saw him draining his own oil the night before. He planned to scam me, so I pretended to work while documenting everything the camera angle doesn't show." He then produced footage showing the businessman tampering with the car himself. The judge dismissed the case immediately. The businessman now faces insurance fraud charges, a genius play that turned the tables completely. This next story is a powerful reminder that heroes aren't always in capes. Sometimes they're just people who stand up for what's right, even when it costs them. It's from a thread asking, "Who is your real-life superhero?" This person grew up with cerebral palsy. As a kid, their mom convinced them that having CP was cool and that the canes they used were badass. But in high school, that all changed. They met a kid named Brad, the principal's son, who made it his life's mission to make fun of them. Brad would pretend to push their canes, causing them to fall, and he was never in trouble because his dad was the principal. The person's parents weren't rich, and it took them a while to save up for special shoes designed for them. On the first day they wore them to school, Brad stole them from the changing room during gym class and threw them in the garbage. They never saw those shoes again, but their math teacher, who hated the principal, got wind of this. He pulled Brad into his classroom, and the entire school could hear him shouting. The principal actually fired the teacher for yelling at his son. But as the teacher came to pack up his things, he gave the person a brand new pair of shoes he had bought for them, a simple, powerful act of kindness that showed them what a real hero looked like. The final story today is a chilling account of a child's resilience and a parent's worst nightmare. It comes from a thread asking, "Parents of killers, what happened?" This story, however, has a twist that changes everything. The narrator, a parent, started hearing that their son was being bullied constantly in school because of a huge birthmark on his shoulder. After one day when the bully tried to cut the birthmark off, they took their son out of school. But the bully, a real monster, found their address and would wait outside their house to taunt him. The parents went to the police, but they refused to do anything, not considering it a serious matter. For a while, the bully disappeared and the family thought it was over, but then he found out their son had been named MVP on his soccer team. The next day, the bully threw a brick through their living room window and climbed into their house with the intention of hurting their son. He started searching for him, calling out his name. What he didn't know was that their son was in his room with his older brother, who just happened to be holding their father's loaded firearm. The bully kicked open the door, ready to do who knows what, and was immediately met with 2 rounds straight to the chest. The sons, 13 and 14 at the time, were not charged. It was ruled as self-defense. A horrifying situation, but a testament to the lengths a person will go to protect their family. And that's all the stories for today. Thank you for tuning in. These stories are a powerful reminder of the incredible highs and devastating lows of the human experience. If you have a story of your own, share it in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. I'll see you next time.